Morning. Good morning.
Morning.
How are we today?
We are okay, love more. And you?
Just pushing. Right.
Yeah.
Where are others? They are still coming, or is there any class for Elisa today for any module?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Maybe they'll come. They'll find us on the way. Let's check where we left. Right. We did A. A, you were done with A. Am I correct? Yes.
Yes.
So we're starting B. So let's do B. I think we'll do B and C. And I'm not sure about D if it is still active. D is no more in our syllabus, if I'm not mistaken. Um, right, so let's look at B. So B says, with regard to irrigation cost estimation for SF winery, determine the expected annual irrigation cost for each of the two given options and recommend the most financial viable option of the two for SF1's water supply requirement. Your analysis should be based on the first year of operation. Right. Let me just check. Right. So here, what the most important thing in our exam, we should be able to understand what the question requires. Like if you check here, with regard to the irrigation cost estimation for SF winery, we want to determine the expected annual irrigation cost for each of the two given options and recommend the most financial viable option of the two for SF winery's water supply requirement. So which means we need to first have the annual irrigation cost for each. We should have the annual irrigation cost for each. Then when we have the cost for each, then we recommend. So in business, our recommendation should be based on the one with a lower cost, which means that's the one that we say they have to choose, the one with a lower cost. So that's basically the recommendation. So which means here the first thing is to determine the expected annual irrigation cost for each. Then when you have for each now, then you now look at the one with the lower cost. The one with the lower cost is the one that we are going to recommend. So that's basically how we answer B. So let's look at the irrigation cost estimation for SF winery and see. Right, so it's going to be irrigation cost estimation for SF winery. Right here they say SF winery is exploring the most cost-effective option for its water supply requirement, considering recent unstable water supply. In this regard, they have two options, the municipality supplied water or borehole supplied water. So here we have two options, the municipality supplied water and the borehole supplied water. These are the options that are available regarding the expected monthly average water requirements of 11,500 kiloliters. So the water requirement is 11,500 kiloliters. The monthly water requirement is 11,500 kiloliters. Then upon inquiry from Morara Wines, a similar nearby winery, SF was able to obtain Morara's Wines municipality invoice as shown below. So these guys, they are trying to see the cost of the municipality water, and they request a nearby winery to see how much are they paying for their water. So let's look at the municipality water supply for the Morara wines, right? If the municipality supplied water option is considered, SF will use Morara wines municipality invoices as a basis for estimating irrigation cost. However, the municipality is soon expected to apply a 6% annual inflationary increase on all its charges. Right? What's happening now? Let me just check something. Okay. Right. So let's check what are they saying here. Sorry. So they are expecting to apply a 6% annual inflationary increase on its charges. Included in the total municipality charges below are fixed refuse and sanitation charges of 3,750. So these one are not water charges. The municipality charges, these are fixed refuse and sanitation charges. So which means included in the total cost here for every month, there is 3,750 per month for refuse and sanitation charges. One thing that we should also look at when we are answering this kind of a question, you should be able to put this topic into which topic. Remember, we are making a decision. So, which means when you are making a decision, you are going to use relevant costs. That's another thing that you should look at. So, which means here we are also putting relevant cost into our question. So, which means when you do your calculation, this 3,750 is not relevant in your decision making. Right, then they say Morara's municipality invoices reflected the following. They reflect the following. These are the invoices. And every time when you see this and you want to determine the cost, the moment you see this, then you should know about the high-low method. The high-low method. Right, so let's look at what else do we have there. So this is the invoice from Morara's municipality invoices. This is the invoice. Then let's check if there is anything else. That's all. So what are we going to do with the municipality water supply? We want to determine the cost per annum for the municipality water supply. Where do we start with the answering here? We want to determine the municipality water cost per annum. Where do we start? Anyone with an idea? Where do we start with this one? Are we right? So what we should do, remember what you look when you have this kind of a question in your exam. Remember, we want the municipality water supply cost. This is the municipality invoice for September, October, November, and December. So what you should look at, you can see here, they are going to use an average of 11,500 kiloliters per month. So which means you need this 11,500 kilometers per month is the variable cost. So which means from here, you need to determine the variable cost. Then when you have your variable cost, then you multiply it by this. Then that's your variable cost. But also remember that here, there is fixed charges here and variable charges. So you need to split them again here on the total municipality charges here. You need to split them, the fixed and variable cost element here, so that your variable, you come and put it here. But also take into account the 6% annual inflationary increase. I think in this one is on in all its charges, which means even the fixed charges, they are going to increase by 6%. So the first thing that you do is to split between the fixed element and the variable element from this, because this one is the total municipality charges is going to be your total cost. Remember, we have this equation. When we do our high-low method, we say y is equal to a plus bx. Y is your total cost, and your a is your total fixed cost, and your b is your variable cost, and your x is the units, the quantity or units. So which means when you have your variable cost, it will be here. So you want to determine the fixed cost. So which means your variable cost and your total cost should be able to give you the fixed cost by substitution here. So that's basically how you do when you are doing your high-low method. But in some of the textbooks, the equation will not be y is equal to a plus b. It will be y is equal to mx plus c. That's in other textbooks, which means this one is now going to be your variable. This one is going to be your fixed cost. This one is going to be your total cost. So that's basically how you answer this kind of equation. So let's see, how do we put it on paper? So this is going to be our B. So in B, we want to determine to advise on which water supply is suitable. Right, so what we are going to do now is to first determine the cost of the municipality. So let's start with the municipality water supply. right? So the municipality water supply. So in the municipality water supply, we need to determine the variable cost per unit. That's the first thing that we need there. So in our variable cost per unit, we're going to use the high-low method. So the high-low method is going to be the highest, it's going to be the highest what? The highest cost minus lowest cost over highest units minus lowest units. Right, so that's basically there. So when we go to our question, what is going to be our highest cost? So which means you determine based on here. You look at this table, what you mostly, when you look here, your highest is going to be determined by the highest units. That's what you don't look here. You look here. Your highest units is the one that is going to determine which figures are you going to use. So which means our highest is going to be which one? This one, 12,500. And our lowest is going to be which one here? This one, am I correct? 11,280. This is going to be our lowest. So which means we take these two and we also take these two. Then we get our variable cost per unit. So that's basically there when you are using the high-low method. Right, so our highest cost is going to be, we say it's 65,000. Then our lowest cost is how much? 59,510.
510.
Then our highest units is going to be 12,500 minus 11,280. Right. Then we have how much there? Let's calculate and see. So it's going to be 65,000 minus
It's 5,490.
5,490 over what? $12,000.
1,000.
Sorry,
120.
1,000.
1220. 1220.
1,220. Then when we divide how much?
220.
Sorry? How much, when we divide, how much are we going to get there?
4.5.
So our variable cost is going to be 450. Right. We now have our variable cost. Remember, what we want to do is, what we want here is, we want to determine the cost of the municipality water per year. So this is the variable cost. When you have your variable cost, which means the variable cost is going to apply to the kiloliters that are used per month. So when we have our variable cost, it means we multiply it by the kiloliters that are going to be used per month. So that is going to be our variable cost per month. But we also need the fixed cost. So which means now we have our variable cost, then we can determine our fixed cost. Remember, I say you use, when you want your fixed cost, you want your fixed cost. So you can use this equation, y is equal to a plus bx. So your y is going to be, here you can choose between which line you want to use, the one that we have used. So let's go and see which one can we use. So we can use this line. We can use this line. 65,000, those are the fixed charges. Those are the fixed charges. And under these fixed charges, the consumption is 12,500. So which means we're going to say, if we want to determine the fixed cost, let's say here, when we want to determine our fixed cost, this is the total cost. So it's going to be 65,000 is equal to, we don't have A is the one that we want to determine, plus BX. Our B is the variable cost now. So it's going to be 450. Our X is the kiloliters. No, it's the 12,500 here. We're not yet using, because we're using this line. So this is going to be our variable cost, this line. So it's going to be 65,000 is equal to A plus how much? 450 times 12,500.
$56,250.
56,250. Right. When we are like this, we want to make A the subject of the formula, what we used to do at high school. So if this 56,250 cross the equal sign, then it will be negative. So it's going to be 65,000 minus 56,250 is equal to A. So our A is going to be what here? We just minus there. Minus
8,750.
So 8,750 is equal to A. So this is going to be our fixed cost. So we now have our fixed cost, 8,750. Then what do? We now have our fixed cost. We have our variable cost. But remember, what we want is the total water charges for the municipality water per year. Let's just go to the question and look at what else can we do there. I saw an increase. There is going to be an increase, a 6% annual. Are we going to apply it now? We are going to use it in our estimation. Am I right? This 6% annual inflationary increase in all charges. Yeah, we have to apply it in our estimation. So which means we now go and apply it on our variable cost, the 6% annual increase. Right, so now, since there is going to be a 6% annual increase, what are we going to do? is to determine the variable cost, total variable cost. So our total variable cost is going to be, this is for a year. We are estimating for a year. So this is going to be 12 times 450 times 6%. We increase it by 6% times what? 11,500 kiloliters. It must be like this. Yeah, this is an increase for 6%. These are the kiloliters. Then this is for the year. So let's look at how much are we going to have in terms of variable cost.
It's 658,260.
So this one is going to be 658 260. So this is going to be our variable cost. Then we need our fixed cost, total fixed cost. And they say they are going to increase everything by 6%. So total fixed cost is going to be, I think total fixed cost is going to be easy. This is our fixed cost per month, 8,750. So we just need to increase this by 6%. Then we multiply it by 12. But there's something here. Remember I say we should also look at relevant costing. Relevant costing. Whenever you are making a decision, it means you should, whenever the question requires you to make a decision, it means you should apply relevant costing. Relevant costing. So here, this is not going to be relevant, this one, in our fixed cost. It's not going to be relevant. The 3,750 per month is not relevant. So which means from our fixed cost, we should remove it from our fixed cost. So every time when you are answering a question for decision making, it means you should apply a relevant cost. So which means here, in our total fixed cost, we are going to have 12 months times 8,750 minus 3,750. Then we increase it by 1.06. That is going to be our fixed cost. Total fixed cost. How much are we going to have in terms of total fixed cost? So which means we first minus, then we
63,600.
So this one is going to be 63,600, right? So our total cost now is going to be 63,600 plus 658 260, which is equal to how much there? 63,600 plus 658 260. 7 what? 721. 721, 860.
860.
Right. So this is going to be our total cost for the municipality water. Right. So we now have our total cost for the municipality water. But remember, in our question, we want to compare between the two, the municipality water and the borehole water. So which means we are done with the municipality water cost. I don't know if there's anyone with a question on the municipality water cost. So every time when you have this kind of a question, especially the moment you see this table like this, and there is a fixed and variable element in here, then you just have to think about the high-low method so that you can separate the variable. The reason why we want to separate the variable is here. This 11,500 is a variable cost. So which means you need to determine the variable cost per unit so that you can multiply it by 11,500. So that's the main reason why you have to separate them. Because remember the variable cost goes with consumption. So that's why we have to separate, because variable cost goes with consumption. The more we consume, the more the variable cost. But the fixed cost will remain like that. So which means you need to separate so that you will align your variable cost to consumption here. So that's basically how you do this, which means once you determine your variable cost, you come back to here. So this is going to be your variable cost, whatever units, because that's why we have this equation. Y is equal to A plus BX. Your BX is the units. So it's the one that is going to give you the variable cost, depending on how many units were produced or used in that case. So that's basically how you do when you have this kind of a question. Unless if there is a question, let's check on the bore water supply. The bore water supply, that is our 2.2. Right, so if on the bore water supply, let's look at the cost. Don't forget to apply relevant. It's a decision. No one is going to tell yes. There's someone raising the hand. Can you ask the question?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, my question is that, so basically the previous question that we are answering, they are basically testing the higher and low method.
Yeah, they are testing you.
That is what
they are testing you. If you look at this question, it's the high-low method. Yes, it's the high-low method. And they apply,
okay.
You are going to apply the high-low method together with relevant cost. But I think most of it
The
is
relevant cost.
Yeah, relevant cost, yeah, because it's a decision making. But most of the things here is high-low method. So anything can come. Remember in the exam, they test you from second year MAC. That's why I always say when you are doing your stuff, just look at, you should have a start guide for MAC 2601 and 02. Some of the things, they just come from there. You will see even those who are going to do CTA, you will be asked some of the things like from first year, second year, and you have already forgotten them. In your CTA exam, you find them, then you'll be like, yo, but I left these things long back. Right. I don't know if there's another question. If we can, before we go to the bore water supply and check it, the cost of the bore water supply. What is going to be the cost of the bore water supply? Relevant cost. Remember, it's a decision making. So which means we should apply relevant cost in our answering. Right. Let's look at if the bore water bore supplied water option is considered, SF will use one of the bore currently used for its residential needs. This bore was drilled 4 years ago at a cost of 38,000. With this option, this bore will be used to supply 40% of the irrigation water requirements for the grapes at pumping cost of 2 rand 60 per kiloliter. What are we going to do with point one? The bore itself, the bore is currently used for the residential need, and the bore was drilled.
It's a sunk cost because it was already there.
Yeah, that one is going to be a sunk cost. So let's just come in. And when you are answering questions like this, which has got a relevant cost, don't leave out anything, even if it is not going to affect your answer. Put it there and say something. Like in this one, you just go and say, old ball drilling cost. Then you just say it's a sunk what? It's a sunk cost. It's a mark on itself, which means if you leave it and say it's not going to affect my answer, then you will not get that mark. So when you are doing something that is related to relevant costing, always make sure that you say something, even if you are not going to use that figure. You have to say something about it. Right, so let's see how do we put it on paper. So this is our bore. It's our bore water. Right, so that's our bore supplied water. So the first one we say drilling cost, old bore drilling cost. So that one is a sunk cost. Whether you continue or not, that cost has been met. So it's not relevant. So it's going to be like this. Then we go again to something else on that question. What are we done with 2.1, or there's something that we need? What are we going to do with this option? This bore will be used to supply 40% of the irrigation water requirements for the grapes at a pumping cost of 2 rand 6. Is that cost relevant?
Yes.
So which means the 40% irrigation cost, 40% of the water requirement irrigation cost is relevant. So it's going to be part of the cost. The pumping, what is it? Is the pumping cost. Yeah. So this one we're going to take the pumping cost. So that one is relevant. So we come here and say pumping cost. So it's for the old bore. They say 40% at 2 rand 50. So it's going to be 40% of 11,500 kiloliters times 2 rand 60. This is for the month, then times 12 months. I think it will be like this. 40% is going to require 40% of the water at a pumping cost of 260 and for 12 months, yes. So that one is going to be our pumping cost for the old, from the old bore. How much are we going to have there?
$143,520.
143,520. So that's there. Then let's go and look at something else there that we need. So is there anything on 2.1 that we still need? We are done. We took the sunk cost and then we took this one, which means we are going to go to 2.2. 2.2, they say SF1 will be required to drill a second bore from which the other 60% of the irrigation water requirement for the grapes will be pumped. The current drilling cost for a similar bore is 45,000. However, as a repeat client, SF is entitled to a 5% drilling cost discount. The bore will be used exclusively by SF Winery. New advanced drilling and pumping technology will make it possible to reduce the pumping cost for this bore only to 180 per kiloliter. Is the first thing here is the drilling cost of the new bore. If we use the municipality water, then it means we are going to meet this cost. So it's going to be relevant. Am I correct? But we should look at the discount here. We should look at the discount. So this one is going to be a relevant cost. Drilling cost for the new bore is going to be a relevant cost. Then what about here? It's going to be the pumping cost again here. The pumping cost of the new bore. We should take 180. It's going to occupy 60% of that 11,500. So here we have two. We have drilling cost and pumping. So that's on not 2.2. We have drilling cost and pumping cost there. Right, so let's look at how do we put it on paper. So here we're supposed to say pumping cost, so that it's the old bore. Right, so here we have drilling cost. New bore. So this is going to be 45,000 with a discount of 5%. You can just say times 95%. So it's going to be what? 42,750. Am I correct?
Yes.
So this is going to be our drilling cost for the new bore. Then pumping cost for the new bore it's going to require 60%. So this is the new bore. So this one is going to require, you are going to use 60% of it. So it's going to be 60% of 11,500 kilowatts. per month times 1 rand 80 times 12. Then that's the pumping cost for the new bore. How much are we going to have there? Anyone who got the answer is serious to percent.
It's 149,040.
149,040. Then we're done with 2.2. Let's look at another statement again. Then we are here. 2.2, we are done. Then we go to 2.3. 2.3 says SF1 will depreciate the ball at 5% per annum on a straight line basis. What are we going to do with that depreciation for the ball? The depreciation for the ball, is it relevant?
No.
So which means we are going to say depreciation so this one is going to be we call it a what? A non-cash item. It's non-cash. If you go to relevant cost, you'll see that all non-cash are not relevant when we are making a decision. So the depreciation does not take money into account. So it's not relevant when you are making a decision. Right, then let's look at what next there. Okay, so we are here. The expected annual service cost will be 5,000 for the existing bore and 70% resulting from domestic usage and 30% from business usage. For the new bore, the service cost will be 3,000. The service costs are mainly driven by the level of usage of bores. What are we going to do with the expected annual cost of 5,000 of the existing bore? Well, they are now saying 70% resulting from domestic usage and 30% from business usage. What are we going to do with that service cost?
We're going to add the business usage.
Yeah, so we are going to take the business usage, the 30% here. And for the new ball, the service cost will be 3,000. The service costs are mainly driven by the level of usage. So the new ball, we are going to take everything there, the 3,000. Then from the old ball, we are going to take 30%. So let's see how do we finalize there. We're almost there. So we start with the service cost of the old bore. Old bore is going to be 5,000 times 30%. How much is it going to be there? It's going to be
1.5.
so this one is going to be 1,500. Then the service cost for the new bore is 3,000. So this one is going to be 3,000. Right, so let's check we are done with everything on the new bore. Right, we are here. So there's 2.3. To set up the irrigation system to cover the entire farm, the associated costs are expected to be 87,000 once off payable upfront, regardless of the option chosen. Is it relevant? The
No.
87, because whichever method that you are going to use, it means this setting up is there. So it's not going to be relevant in our ball costing. So the setting up is not relevant because you are going to meet it regardless of whether which option you take. So that's how you answer your questions, especially when it is a relevant costing. Relevant costing is very easy. Just understand what you are doing. I'm doing relevant costing. Is this an incremental cost? So when you determine your incremental cost, you look at if we take this decision, are we still going to meet this cost? If it is yes, what about if we don't take the decision? Are we still going to meet this cost? Then yes. Then which means it's not relevant because even if you don't take the decision, you are still going to pay that money or the money has already been paid. So in your decision, it's not going to apply then. That's how you do your relevant costing, which means you are making a decision and you can't make a decision by something that you are going to pay, whether you do it or not. So here is going to be set up cost. It's going to be incurred. Um, so this one is going to be incurred, whether which option is going to be. So which means we need our total cost.
Sorry, sorry, Lavmo. Can I ask with that 70%
Yes.
is irrelevant? So are we not including
Or the 70%.
it and then also not putting the amount?
Yeah, we can put
Yes,
it like here, the 30% is for what? It's for business, ne? So this one is for
yes,
business use. Then the 70% is for is for residential. We can put it as a separate line. There's the 70%. It's still fine, yeah. It's still fine. We can put it as a separate line, the 70%.
okay, no thanks.
Yeah, because those are some of the small marks, half mark, 1 mark that we sometimes lose when we overlook some of the small things. So it's better to put everything because you don't lose a mark by putting something, even if it is not relevant there, you don't lose a mark. They just mark what is correct there. But if you leave it out and it was supposed to be there, then you lose a mark. So I think in the exam, it's better to whatever comes in your mind and you think this is relevant, put it there. If it is not supposed to be there, you don't lose a mark, right? Total cost of is going to be how much for this one? Let's start from the top, 143,520 until here. It appears as if the ball is going to be cheaper here.
I get 339,810.
Right. So this is what we have. So obvious now, as per our question now, let's just go to our question. What are we supposed to do to here? We now have our calculations, which means we are done. Then we want to recommend the most financial viable option of the two for SF Wineries water supply requirement. Financially, which means the one that is going to save their money. So it's going to be the bore, because if you look at the municipality water, it's going to be 721,860, and the bore is going to be 339,810. So when you advise them now, you are now going to say on your comment or conclusion. So you're now going to recommend the most financial viable option. So it's going to be the bore water. So you can just come here and say bore water is the most
Financial.
viable. So the bore water is going to be the most financially viable. As it is cheaper, which is 339,810, as compared to the one for the supplied water. The municipal supplied water, we say it's how much? Let's just check. 721,860. Where is it now? Right. So we'll be done with that question. We'll be done with that question. The first, that is our B1 will be done. So the most important thing in our question, I think what is most important is in our MAC, what is most important is to understand the topics, so that when you are answering, you link your question to the topic. Which topic am I supposed to apply here? I think that's where everything goes wrong if you don't understand the topics. Because now, if you cannot link this question to a topic, it means you won't be able to answer it. So that's why I always say, understand your topic, so that the moment you see a question, and again, even without seeing the question, the scenario itself will tell you which topic. Like here, in this one, you can see by reading the scenario that no, this is relevant costing, this one. You can tell from reading the scenario, this is going to be relevant cost. So topics are very important in our case, right? I don't know if there is any question before we look at another question there. Is there anyone with a question? before we look at another question. No question. Right. Let's look at here. These are some of the free marks in the exam that you should get, the theory questions. Don't overlook theory questions because they carry a lot of mark. Right. Let's look at 2. They say, assume that SF Winery chooses the municipality supplied water option. Let's say these guys, they are going to choose the municipality supplied water option. Discuss 4 factors that could affect the accuracy at which SF Winery can estimate the expected irrigation cost. What do you think can affect the estimation here? When we look at here, let's go to the estimation. Right, if you look at here, what can we say can affect the estimation of this municipality water? This is what they use to estimate. What do you think can affect? Automatically, there is an answer that is here that we should have. Because these guys, they use Morara municipality.
That inflate.
Sorry. Hello? You just cut. You just say something, then it disappears. Okay, so I was saying these are some of the things that you should just collect marks here. These guys are estimating here the municipality supplied water using Morara's municipality invoice. Do you think they are going to use the same kilowatts? No, it's obvious they are going to, the kilowatts might be different here. So which means that's another point that you should put here. That's another point that you should put here. There is no way they can be using the same kilowatts. So which means that estimation is not going to be correct because they use someone else. So this is our B2. So we can say the first one, we can say they may consume more water. They may consume more water than, remember they use Morara for estimation. So which means they can consume more or even less. So that one will affect their estimation as well. Right. So let's look at what else can we have here? Because this here you just answer using your here. It's your understanding of what is happening here on this map. So whenever you are using, you are answering a theory question. You apply what is here. Do you think they are going to?
The increase may be more than 6% as well.
Yeah, it might happen that this 6% might be more. So which means their estimation is here on theory questions. When you look at the scenario itself, you pick from there. And when you are answering theory questions, even if they ask you about the risk, don't talk about the risk that does not relate to the scenario. You won't get a mark for that. So which means if they ask you about the risk that you are going to talk about are those which correspond to what is happening in the scenario. If the company is importing, this is when you can talk of foreign exchange risk, all those things. Don't say something that is outside the scenario itself. That's another key area, which means if you say something that is outside the scenario, you won't get a mark for that. All right, so here we can say increase right? What else can we say? These guys are going to use Morara's invoices. What else can we say? I think we should have at least 4 of them. We now have 2. Do you think their fixed costs are going to be the same? The fixed cost might also be different. You just say anything that is related to that scenario. Do you think the variable cost is going to be the same? Remember what we used to calculate the variable cost. So which means even the variable cost might not be the same as well, because we use Morara's invoice to calculate the variable cost per unit. So which means the variable cost per unit might also be different. Right? Anything that, but what I emphasize, whenever you are answering a theory questions, relate everything that you put into your answer, relate it to the scenario, which means you come here and look at here, then you just look at anything that can make this estimation not accurate from what we have here. Then in that case, you are going to get marks. There is no way you will not get marks from your answer, right? Unless if there's anyone with a question on B, I think we're done with B. We can go to do C. We can do C. Unless if there is a question. But what I will emphasize is in MSc, understand the topics. That one I always say it. Topics. Those are the first things that you should understand. So that the reason why understanding a topic is important, the moment you read a question here, like here, minimum transfer price. If you understand minimum transfer price, there is no way you will not be able to answer this question because you know how to calculate the minimum transfer price. So which means you just apply your understanding of calculating the minimum transfer price. Even though you will not get full marks, you may make mistakes here and there. But if you understand this topic, minimum, how do I calculate the minimum transfer price? There is no way you will not be able to get marks from the question. So the problem comes if the topics is a problem. Then you will not be able to apply it now to that scenario. Like what they are asking here, let's just read this one. They say, after an assessment of SF Bottling's business case, MBC made the following recommendation to encourage goal congruence. Minimum transfer price principle should be utilized to determine a unit transfer regarding the transfer of all the bottles required by SF Winery from SF Bottling. Then they now go and say, from SF Bottling's perspective, critically evaluate and subsequently conclude whether the recommendation by MBC to adopt the minimum transfer price principle as opposed to the currently proposed transfer price represent a sound financial recommendation. So even when I read this question without looking at the scenario, when I go to the scenario, I know for me to evaluate and conclude whether this recommendation of using the minimum transfer price is sound, is financially viable, then it means there must be the currently proposed transfer price must be there. Then I should calculate the minimum transfer price. So in business, what gives them profit is what is going to be recommended as viable. So which means you should have your minimum transfer price and then your currently proposed transfer price, which means this will be there in the scenario. They will tell you about this. Even if you have to calculate it, they will tell you how to calculate this one, the currently proposed transfer price. Then you compare to your minimum transfer price. Then that's when you can evaluate and conclude. Right? Then they say support your evaluation and conclusion with relevant and necessary calculations. Right? So which means us here, when we go into the scenario, we are looking at the currently proposed transfer price and the minimum transfer price. So why I'm saying understanding the topic is very important. When you want to calculate your minimum transfer price, if you know how to calculate the minimum transfer price, there is no way you cannot be able to come up with a minimum transfer price. Then you calculate your minimum transfer price here. Then you come and look at the currently, sometimes in other questions, this one you don't even calculate it. They will give you, and they will give you this one. So if they give you this one, then it means you are not going to calculate it. You just calculate your minimum transfer price, then you compare it with the one that is provided. So that's basically there, right? Let's check right. So let's go to the scenario and see what are they saying. So which means we are done with 2, we are on 3. So you see the way the questions are structured, there is nothing like the information is too much. Each question has got its information. If you can check, since we answer A, we use extract from the business case to answer A. We never go back there, which means after we are done with the irrigation cost estimation, which answers B, you might find that we might not even go back there when we are answering our C. So don't stress yourself with the length of the question paper. Don't stress yourself with the length of the question paper. Read, answer is in those parts. Then you will see that it's going to be, even when you are in the exam, don't answer question based on the structure of the questions here, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. First, go to what you understand, the topics that you understand first. Then when you are done with what you understand, then you can go back to what you don't understand. Then you just play around there. You know, there I've already, well, sometimes you spend a lot of time trying to figure out something that you don't understand. And you spend 50 minutes there, and you're not going to get anything from there. When I'm answering question, I don't give time to what I don't know. Even if I understand it and I see that it's difficult, and there are certain things which I can quickly do, because the most important thing is not about which questions you have answered. It's about you have accumulated marks. So you just have to go to those which you can quickly get marks. Then you come back and sit on that difficult question. And you know you already put your marks there. Right, so let's look at 3. What are they saying about 3? So here they are saying one of the other companies, that is SF Bottling, there's SF Bottling, that will be set up is SF Bottling. The company will manufacture and sell empty wine bottles to both SF Winery and the external customers. So this one is going to manufacture and sell empty wine bottles to SF Winery and external customers. SF Bottling will have a maximum capacity to manufacture 960,000 bottles annually. The bottles came in a standard 750 milliliter size, although the expected annual demand for the bottles is 410,640 for SF Winery. So the 410 is the one for the internal demand. Then the 610 is the external demand. The 640, sorry, is the external demand. So they go on and say SF Bottling will be required to prioritize the supply of the bottles to SF Winery. So you can see if there is a shortfall, SF Bottling will prioritize to internal supply. So if there is a shortfall, they will prioritize to internal supply, which means there is going to be a lost contribution here whenever there is a shortfall. Right, then they go on and say the grape juice is packed in recyclable 1 liter, 2 liter, and 5 liter containers, which are sourced externally and not from SF Bottling. Right, then the manufacturing cost based on maximum manufacturing capacity are estimated as follows. So here we can get our minimum transfer price. So when you are doing your minimum transfer price, what you should know is the formula. I think the formula will help you. So we say minimum transfer price is equal to incremental cost of the transferring division plus what? Plus lost contribution or opportunity cost. Lost contribution will come, contribution will come from you not supplying the external market. So when you are calculating, so here already you have your answer. If you know this formula, you have your answer. The minimum transfer price is equal to the incremental cost of the transferring division. These incremental costs are just like variable cost. So you're going to say the variable cost of the transferring division. Remember, incremental and variable is the same thing. Incremental will increase as output increase. So that's the variable cost. So it's going to be the incremental cost of the transferring division plus the lost contribution. Lost contribution comes from you not being able to supply the external market. That's a lost contribution. So which means when you are calculating the lost contribution, you should now look at even the cost of supplying the external market. So that's basically how you answer your question. So I always say know this. Once you know this, then it means you answer, you get something, even though you are not going to be 100% perfect, but you'll get something from what you are going to do. Your 50-60% overall in the whole exam, you get it as long as you know your topics. Right, so these are the incremental costs that we have here. We have raw material cost. And when you are doing your incremental costs, you should look at are these for the transferring division. So these are the manufacturing costs based on maximum manufacturing capacity. So which means these are the incremental cost of SF bottling. These ones. Right, then we go down there and look. Manufacturing overheads comprise of variable and fixed components. Or it's here, total manufacturing overheads. So we need a variable component here so that we can have our incremental cost. Variable manufacturing overheads are estimated at 20 Rand per direct labor hour. So that's our variable manufacturing overheads. They are 20 Rand per direct labor hour. So which means we are on this slide, direct labor cost per bottle at 45 Rand per hour is going to be 4 Rand 50. Okay, so then they go and say fixed manufacturing overheads are allocated based on the annual maximum manufacturing capacity of the bottles. So when we allocate our fixed manufacturing overheads, we are going to allocate based on the annual maximum manufacturing capacity, which is here, the 960,000. You know how you allocate. When you allocate using the annual, so which means we are going to have our fixed manufacturing overhead over capacity. So that's how you are going to allocate your overheads to product. You should also know most of the methods that are used to allocate fixed manufacturing overheads. It might be capacity, it might be based on labor hours, it might be based on machine hours. All those you should understand them. Right, then that's on number 2. Then let's go to number 3. They say bottles will be sold to external customers pegged in a custom-made wooden crate just before sale. This crate holds 8 bottles and will always be pegged as such for bottle sales. All the crates will be bought from Tokwa at a purchase price of 12 Rand per crate. So that's the cost of the crate. Then SF bottling is not, so this cost of the crate, what is it going to make it? Is it going to be part of the incremental cost? Bottles will be sold to external customers pegged in a custom-made wooden crate. No, this is now when we sell them to external customers. So which means it's not going to be an incremental cost here. Let's check. We only include it when we are calculating the lost contribution. right? Then they say SF bottling has noted numerous complaints from Tokwa's existing customers about the fragility of the crates. In the main, it is complained that unused crate inventory stored for an extended period frequently break beyond repair and in large volume. Internal sales will not be packed in crates. So your internal sales are not going to be packed in crates. So we're not going to pack internal sales in crates. Right? So if we are not packing, then it means the minimum transfer price should not include the crate price. I think we are correct there. So this 12 rand per crate is not going to be part of the minimum transfer price. Right, then let's look at 3.4. They say, currently, according to the SF group, to encourage goal congruence, SF bottling will sell or transfer bottles to SF winery at a price that equals SF bottling's currently. This is the current transfer price. So they are going to transfer at a price that equals SF bottling's unit full manufacturing cost per bottle. However, the selling price will be 15 Rand 50 per bottle to external customers. Moreover, SF bottling will incur delivery cost of 85 cents per bottle sold to external customers only. Right, so here we have our comparison now. So which means we are going to compare the one they are using currently is the unit full manufacturing cost per bottle. The unit full manufacturing cost per bottle. Full manufacturing cost per bottle, it means we are going to, when they talk of full manufacturing cost, it means we're also involving, we're using what? We're going to use absorption costing there to get the full manufacturing cost. So that's there. So which means in our answer, we need to compare this currently and the minimum transfer price. That's the comparison that we are going to have. We have to compare the unity full manufacturing cost and the minimum transfer price. So where do we start with our answer? Where do we start? We can start anyway. You can start with the minimum transfer price. You can start with the full manufacturing cost. Let's just come here and start with the full manufacturing cost. Then we go to the minimum transfer price. So that is going to be our C. Right. In our C, what are we doing here? We are trying to advise on the minimum transfer price. Right. So in our minimum transfer price, minimum transfer price is equal to incremental cost of the transferring division plus the lost contribution. That's our minimum transfer price. So which means now we want first the incremental cost. what is going to make up our incremental cost? We come to our question. The incremental cost of the transferring division is going to be raw materials cost per bottle, R5.50. And what else?
Direct labor cost.
Direct labor cost is R4.50. Am I correct? Yes, we take it as it is, because this is per unit. Then the variable, we also need the variable. So let's take those two that we have first. So it's going to be our, so we're going to have direct material, variable, manufacturing overheads. So this one is R4.50, R5.50. Then let's go to our variable manufacturing overhead. Variable manufacturing overhead per unit. So I think we should have it here. Manufacturing overheads comprise of variable and fixed components. Variable manufacturing overheads are estimated at 21 Rand per direct labor hour. Fixed manufacturing overheads are allocated based on the annual maximum capacity of the bottles. 21 Rand per direct labor hour. How many hours here? How do it? So here they say direct labor cost per bottle at 45 Rand per hour is going to be R4.50. R4.50 is for direct labor cost per bottle at 45 Rand. This one is where your math comes now. Remember, they are saying 21 per direct labor hour. So which means in here, R4.50 is going to be applied based on 45 Rand per hour. So if you want to see how many hours are here, this is our total divided by per hour, then we multiply by 21. Yeah, that's how we get our variable manufacturing cost. Because we want the hours first, then we multiply by the variable cost per hour. So which means here our variable cost is going to be determined by R4.50. Then we divide by 45. It's going to give us the number of hours. And then times 21 Rand per hour. How much are we going to have there? It's R4.50 divided by 45 times
2 Rand 10 cents.
202 Rand 10 cents, right? So this is going to be the variable cost. Then when we are determining the minimum transfer price, what else do we need here on the minimum transfer price? We say minimum transfer price is incremental cost. I think our incremental costs are here. Then we need the lost contribution. So which means we are going to need the lost contribution here. So we can make it our lost contribution, our C1. So which means we need to determine the lost contribution. We can now come here and calculate our lost contribution. Right, so in our lost contribution, how do we determine the lost contribution? The lost contribution is going to be the selling price minus all variable cost. Then we have our contribution. Then we'll determine, that's how we determine the lost contribution. So which means lost contribution, you look at the external market. What is the price to sell to the external market? The variable cost, you take the incremental cost, but you should also take into account. So this is the price to the external market. The delivery cost, if we sell to the external market, what else are we going to meet as a cost? And the cost of the crate is also going to be part of the external market cost. So which means you are going to add on our variable cost, you are going to add the crate, we are going to add the delivery cost, then we are going to add, this is the price. And so that's how we determine your external, your lost contribution. So you come here and say, so which means you now come and say the selling price to external customers. So the selling price to external customers is going to be how much there? It's going to be 15 Rand 50. Then you less a variable cost. Is contribution. So which means we are going to say less variable cost. Now we're calculating contribution. So we're going to less all variables. So in our variables, we have the direct material. The direct material is 5 Rand 50. Then we have direct labor. Our direct labor is 4 Rand 50. Then we have our variable. Manufacturing overhead, we already calculate this one. It's going to be 2 Rand 10 cents. Then what else do we have there? We say we need what?
The crate.
Yes, we need the crate. So we are going to need the crate. Is it going to be 12 Rand? Let's check. This is the selling price per bottle. So we're not going to sell a bottle into a crate. So we need to determine how many bottle goes to the crate. Well, the selling price is per bottle. So we need to determine how many bottles goes to the crate. The crate holds 8 bottles.
8 bottles.
So which means we have to divide 12 Rand by 8. Then we'll get per bottle because we are selling per bottle. right? So those are some of the small things. When you are answering that, you should just be aware of. Like here, if we take the 12, then it means we're going to sell one bottle in a full crate. So this one is going to be 12 over 8. How much is it going to be? 15. Am I correct? 0.15. Right? Then after the
150.
crate, sorry, is mine different from yours?
1.5.
1.5. How did I do it? Yeah, it
12
must be 1. Let's say 12
divided
divided.
by 8.
Yeah, what? I don't know what happened to my calculator. It gave me 0.50. Now it's giving me 1.50. 1 rand 50. Right, what else do we need again? There is also that delivery cost. Am I correct?
Yes.
We're going to take it here. So the delivery cost is going to be 0.85. So we need our variable cost. Let's calculate the total variable cost so that we can have our contribution here.
It's 1 rand 5 cents.
1 rand.
1.05.
That's the last answer, the contribution.
Yes.
But based on how we presented our answer, we should have the total variable cost here because we already put a heading here. But if we did not put a heading, then it means all these figures we could just put them in bracket here. But since we have a heading, we need a figure here for all total variable cost.
Plus 210 plus 150 plus 85. It's 14.45.
14.45. So this is going to give us now our contribution here, right? So this is going to be our contribution, right? When we have our contribution, according to your UNISA standard, in some of the institutions, when they have this contribution, they will end here. This is going to be their lost contribution. But based on your UNISA now, when you have your lost contribution here, your contribution, then you need to see how many units, the shortfall. What was the shortfall when it comes to your supply? So which means you are now going to compare your capacity. Let's just go to our question. It's something that I want to show you there. Right, when you are answering here now, these ones we have already took them. Right, what you now need to do now is the lost contribution. You now look at the capacity. This is 960,000 bottles annually. Then if you give to the external market, how many are you going to be left with? Then when you give to the internal market, how many are you going to be left with? Then you see, obviously here there's going to be a shortfall. If we say 640 plus 410, 640,000 plus 410 is going to be 1,050,000. So already there is going to be a shortfall. Right. So that's the so which means we just come here and do it this way. Right. So you want to determine the capacity versus so you come and say you want to determine what do you want to determine here? Or we're still on our so you want to determine your lost
The lost
contribution. So which means you have your maximum capacity. Our maximum capacity is 960,000. Am I correct? Then if we give to the external market, external demand, we are going to give them 640. How many are we left with when we give to the external market? 20 here, 3 here. So we'll be left with 20, 320. Then when we give to, so which means we'll be left with this one. So it's going to be 320. Do you see already it's short? When we give to the requirements of SF1 now requires how many? 410. So SF1 is going to require 410 here. So there's going to be a shortfall here. It's a shortfall of how many?
90,000.
So the shortfall is going to be 90,000. Right. So based on your standard, you will now come here and say when you have this 90,000, this is the shortfall. So this is what is going to contribute to your lost contribution. So you now say total lost contribution is now going to be your 90,000 times the 1 rand. We say how much here? We say it's 1 rand 5 cents. How much are we going to have as our total lost contribution there?
$94,500.
94,500. So this is going to be our total lost contribution. Then you'd go and look at who is prioritized here. So the one that is prioritized, remember, is SF winery. So when you calculate your lost contribution, you base on what you are going to deliver to, you are going to supply to SF winery. So your lost contribution per unit is going to be based on what you are going to supply to SF winery. Lost contribution per unit is now going to be your 94,500 over 410,000. How much are we going to have as our lost contribution there? It's going to be 94,500 divided by 410,000. Is it
23 cents.
23 cents? So this is going to be, your lost contribution is going to be 0.23. That is going to be your lost contribution. So we have our lost contribution. See, it's a long working just for that, for here. Where were we? So we want the lost contribution is 0.23. So we now have our minimum. So which means we are going to add this to get our minimum transfer price.
It's 12 rand 33 cents.
12 rand 33. Like this.
Yes.
So this is going to be our minimum transfer price. What I want you guys, when you are doing your minimum transfer price as per your UNISA, I want you to look at here. When most people, they lose marks when they get to here. This is where most people, they get lost. Because if you go to other institutions, they will end here on your contribution. But for UNISA, if you end there, you are not done. They want you to determine the minimum transfer price based on the total lost contribution. So when you determine your minimum transfer price based on the total lost contribution, then it means you have to look at who is prioritized first. Then that's how you determine your lost contribution on the one that is going to be prioritized. So you should be able, but I don't think it's much difficult. Once you have your shortfall is going to give you the total lost contribution. Then your total lost contribution, then you go to the prioritized one. Like in our case, SF that is the prioritized one. Then you have your lost contribution per unit. So that's how you do it based on UNISA standard. Right? So here we are done with the minimum. We're still not done with the whole question. Remember, we want to compare. This is our minimum transfer price. Then we have our minimum transfer price. Then the next thing that we want now is, remember we are here, we want to compare, this guy was saying to encourage goal congruence, minimum transfer price principle should be utilized to determine a unit transfer price regarding the transfer of all the bottles. Then the question says, from SF Bottling's perspective, critically evaluate and subsequently conclude whether the recommendation by MBC to adopt the minimum transfer price as opposed to the currently proposed transfer price. So which means now we should now go to the currently proposed transfer price. Then we see which one is best. Right, so the currently one is here. They now say currently, according to the SF group, to encourage goal congruence, SF Bottling will sell or transfer bottles to SF Winery at a price that equals SF Bottling's unity full manufacturing cost per bottle. Apply the absorption cost per bottle. When they talk of full manufacturing cost, it means we are applying the absorption cost per bottle. So which means we now need to look at the full manufacturing cost per bottle. Right, so where do we start? Which means what we have done Is it not going to be a continuation of what we have done? Then we just add the manufacturing cost, the fixed manufacturing cost. The full manufacturing cost is only going to need the fixed cost element there. So we come here and then we say, so we want now to determine the unit full manufacturing cost. Right. Full manufacturing cost. So which means everything that we have done here, all these variables, let's just go and check which variables are we going to take. So when we determine the unit's full manufacturing cost, it means we come here. We take the direct material, direct labor, and the variable, then we apply the fixed cost. So which means we are going to take direct material, direct labor, what else? Variable, manufacturing overheads, and fixed manufacturing overheads. So the direct material we say is 5 Rand 50. 5 Rand 50. The variable we say is how much? The direct labor is 4 Rand 50. The variable we say is 2 Rand 10 cents. So we need this one, the fixed manufacturing overhead. So we need to calculate the fixed manufacture. It's our C2 again. Let's call it C2. C2 fixed. So we need the fixed manufacturing overheads. Who are those fixed manufacturing overheads? Let's go to our question so that we can allocate them based on normal capacity. That's the allocation method that we have from the question. What I'm going to do, they say a total annual manufacturing overheads. Manufacturing overheads comprise of variable and fixed components. So here we have the variable and fixed components. What I'm going to do to get the variable, the variable to the fixed component?
We minus the total annual manufacturing overheads. We minus the variable manufacturing overheads from the total manufacturing overheads.
Yes. So we are going to say it's what is 2,448,000. So what we are going to do is because we want the fixed manufacturing overheads. So let's see how do we put it here. Right, so it's going to be is going to be total. Let's just come here and say total fixed manufacturing overheads. We say 2 million is 2 million. It's 2 million what? That's what.
448,000.
So it's 2 million 448,000. Right. Then we less the variable cost. So our variable cost, to make it easy, we already calculated our variable cost per unit. Am I correct? It's here. Variable overhead manufacturing cost per unit. So which means 2 Rand 10 times units manufactured is going to give us the variable cost per unit. How much are we going to have there? Times it's 2 Rand 10 times times 960.
2,016,000.
2 million. How do I write it now? 16,000.
016.
Yeah. Then what do we have? We are going to have fixed manufacturing cost. Is that the one that we want? No? Yeah. Fixed.
Yes.
So our fixed manufacturing cost is going to be what? It's going to be
432,000.
432,000. Right. We now have our fixed. This is what we wanted here. Remember, the question says we apply fixed manufacturing overheads based on normal capacity. So our normal capacity is 960,000. Let's just go to the question and double check. So our normal capacity is 960,000 bottles. Then this is what we use to apply fixed manufacturing overheads. So per bottle is now easier now because we now have our fixed manufacturing overhead. So which means per bottle is going to be fixed manufacturing overhead per unit. Is now going to be, these are the fixed. So you are now going to say fixed. Here you can now say fixed manufacturing overhead over normal capacity. So it's now going to be is equal to 432,000. Your normal capacity is 960,000. So this is going to give us the fixed manufacturing overhead per unit. How much are we going to have there? It's 432 divided by 960.
45 cents.
It's going to be 45 cents, 0.45. So we are done there to get the full cost. The full cost, it means you have to include the fixed, you are applying the absorption costing. So which means here is going to be the 45 cents. Then what we need now is our total cost. How much are we going to get as our total cost? So how much are we going to have as our total cost there? Anyone who got it, it's 550 plus 450.
It's 12 Rand 55 cents.
12 Rand 55 cents. So what are we going to do? Remember, we need to recommend here. That's the question. We need to recommend. The first one we got. What was the first one?
12.53 cents.
Yeah. So which one do you recommend?
Transfer pricing. Minimum transfer price.
Why?
Because it's cheaper. It's 12 Rand.
Okay, who is benefiting from this cheaper transfer price here?
MBC.
Let's just check here. There's something that I want to check from the scenario. I'm not saying I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just want to cross-check something here. Okay, it's going to be. So the guy was saying after an assessment of SF Bottling's business case, MBC made the following recommendation to encourage goal congruence. Minimum transfer price principle should be utilized to determine a unit transfer. Yeah, you are right, because here they are talking of goal congruence. So which means it must be to the benefit of everyone here. That's the goal congruence. It must be to the benefit of the organization as a whole and also to the one who is receiving the product. It must be fair. That's the goal congruence here. So they have to use the minimum transfer price. That's correct. Let's see how do we put it on paper. So in our conclusion, then we're going to say who is benefiting? I'm still trying to look at something here.
SF bottling, I think. Because they are the ones who
Let's go to the
no,
question. I want us to make a right conclusion here.
yeah.
Let's go to the
Transactional
question so that we see.
SF primary.
Let's go to the scenario. Currently, according to the SF group, goal congruence, SF Bottling will sell or transfer bottles to SF Winery at a price that equals SF Bottling's unit of full manufacturing cost per bottle. However, the selling price will be 15 Rand 50 per bottle to external customers. So MBC is the whole organization. Am I correct here? Yeah, MBC is the whole organization here. So if the transfer price is going to be used, is it going to benefit them? Because the transfer price is lower than the full cost. So which means the minimum transfer price should not be the recommended one. Because if you check our answer here, let's just go to our answer here. This is our minimum transfer price, and this is our full cost. And to the organization itself, which one is going to benefit here? The full cost and
Are required by SF.
sorry?
They saying the bottles are required by SF Winery from SF Bottling. So SF Bottling is the one that is transferring, isn't it?
Then let's just go there again. Because I want us to check.
On the question. On the question.
Okay, let's check again what you are saying there. Right, we are here after an assessment of SF Bottling's business case. MBC made the following recommendation: to encourage goal congruence, minimum transfer price should be utilized to determine a unit transfer price regarding the transfer of all bottles required by SF Winery from SF Bottling. From SF Bottling's perspective, critically evaluate and subsequently conclude whether the recommendation by
So the
MBC.
person is benefiting.
So which means we are applying based on the SF's perspective. SF is the one who is getting the bottles from
Why not? Yes.
you guys, who is SF bottling? SF bottling is the one who is supplying the bottles.
Transferring, yes.
So which means our perspective should be based on SF bottling. So if we apply the minimum transfer price, then SF bottling is going to benefit. Am I right?
No, it's going to reduce their transfer pricing from 12.55 to 12.33. So meaning SF bottling is going to lose at some point.
So from SF bottling's perspective, then the minimum transfer price is not right. Do we agree there? It's not going to,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I wanted to check
It's not
there. It's
benefiting
not
them.
going to be of their advantage, the minimum transfer
Mm.
price, because it's going to be 12.33 and the full cost is going to be 12.55. You see how MAC is when it comes to questioning. You see, it's something that I need critical thinking because
The
because here
English is not Englishing.
sorry, yeah. So in our answer, then
The English is not Englishing. It's confusing.
yeah, that's why I was speaking. I was like, no, but let's check what is happening. What's the key word here is here SF bottling's perspective, which means we are looking at SF bottling here. That's the one that we should consider in our recommendation with regard to move from the minimum transfer price to the from the current proposed transfer price to the minimum transfer price. We should consider SF bottling, right? So which means in our answer, then we now have the answer. Then it means we just come and put it here like this. For make FAC, your English must be at another level. It must be at another level. Well, sometimes when you read the question, you'll be like, what is needed here? So here we can say FBC recommendation for the minimum transfer price
Will not be beneficial
yeah,
to SF bottling.
to adopt the minimum transfer price as opposed to
The current price proposed.
as opposed to the current proposed price is not, we can even say a what? He was saying it's not going to what, to be a beneficial to, it's not beneficiary to SF.
It's not.
It's not, sorry, look now, I'm now talking of a beneficiary. It's not beneficial to SF bottling. I don't know what's happening with my brain now.
As it reduce
Sorry.
the
As,
transfer.
yeah, as it will reduce the
As it will reduce the transfer price from 12.55 to 12.33.
it will reduce the transfer price from 12 rand 55 to 12 rand 33. Yeah, from SF bottling's perspective, then it means they are not going to benefit because they were transferring using this. Now, if you adopt the transfer price, then they are going to be at a what? At a loss. So that's how it is. But always, like I always say, that comment is 1 mark. Let's see what the, yeah. So even if you get lost on commenting here, there's 3 marks there on evaluation and conclusion. So 7 marks for calculation. But if your calculation, you have done it right, 6 can get them from the calculation, then maybe 1 from whatever recommendation that you are going to make. So that's basically how we should answer our. So if any question on this part, I don't want us to do D, they are phasing it out, it's just cracking your head, this one. Those economic order quantity, right? Yeah, they are facing it from our syllabus. They are putting it to second year, this one. D. Remember, even if you check now your FAC, they are phasing out some of the topics from third level, they are pushing them back to second level. If you check, you no longer see topics like contingent asset, contingent liabilities, International Financial Reporting Standard 10. They move them to second year. I think they want to reduce the pressure for third year.
But can we trust them?
Sorry?
Can we trust UNISA?
It is again just they can come with anything at any time. Oh no, you guys, you want us to do this one just to see how it is done. Are we still having the energy to do? But it's just for the sake of you guys seeing how it is done. But I'm sure from 2024, they are trying to face this topic out. But we can do it if you just want to see how it is done. D, let's
Okay.
do, can we do it? Let's do D and see how it is. And see what exactly are we required to do there. But remember, we never did it in our class. This topic, that's why I'm trying to not to do it, because we never did it in our class. So
Sorry, Lovemo. I was thinking if we can do maybe another one than this, as you're saying, that is small, it's not likely to come to the exam. Maybe if we can try another one.
yeah, this one is not gonna come in. If they bring it, it will be not be fair, because it's like they are phasing it out, right? This one is for because my plan is I wanted us to, like, on this one we have to do the finance in our next class. Because normally I expect you guys to go through the question before we do it together, so that you see what is happening. So I was gonna say on this October, November 2022, we can go on the finance section on this one. Then when we are done with the finance section, then we can go back to 2024. Then we do the costing. Then we also do the finance. If we still have another chance, we can look at the supplementary, the January or whichever 2023. Then we can also do. But what I would also advise you is, you see, that's why you see sometimes I prefer to start with 3701 or 0.